up is I'm actually speaking at this event. I believe Ken as well. We're talking about Azure, more cloud stuff at that event. I'll be talking about using cloud and mobile development at that event. So it's a little bit more pricey, but if you want to go to a more professional level conference, definitely do check that out. They keep mentioning about the Montreal Jazz Festival, so I'm thinking that's going to be a good time for us. So definitely do check that out. Okay, so let me walk through the schedule. So we've got a bit of a change on the schedule. We don't have our second speaker, so what we're going to do is basically, Jeff has agreed to kind of put more content into his talk. So hopefully by about 10:30 we can kind of wrap up, give you guys a bit of break, because we got plenty of coffee, water, and food down there. You saw all the food, so please eat that up. And if you haven't visited the swag table and picked up a shirt, do so.
Welcome back. This is the original talk. The one that I came here for. DevOps and Azure. Should I let her in?
I don't know, do you?
By the way, I'm sorry, back to there was a question during the break. One of the advantages of using infrastructure as a code and using JSON files and using that ARM template model is that it's rerunnable, right? You can run it at any given time. So you're creating a VM, and then you decide to create 2 gigs of memory, and then you decide, you know what, that was too good, I need 8. You modify a JSON file, you rerun the command, same JSON file, well, modified JSON file. And it's gonna go ahead and make it 8. Okay, you need 1 website, now you need 2, rerun, update the JSON file, rerun it, here you go, you have 8, you have 2. Rerunnable. Okay, DevOps and Azure. How many of you know what the DevOps is?
Agile
2.0. Agile 2.0, there you are. That's actually my official definition, yes. It's an evolution of Agile. I'm pissing off a lot of Agile people when I say that. Sure. That's just one more thing they ate me for. Okay, let's talk about it. I'm honestly a bit mad that they say DevOps, not Ops Dev. That's just, I can live with that. Okay, for those of you who were not here an hour ago, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I'm still Max. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the DevOps a little bit, do an overview of what DevOps is. We're gonna talk about enabling DevOps practices. I'm gonna try to go quickly through the slides and do as many demos. Demos are gonna be based on a Team Foundation server or Visual Studio Online Team Services. How many of you know what TFS is? Okay. They don't teach that in school, or? Anyway, Team City, Jenkins. Okay. How many of you know Jenkins is only because it was on a TV show called Silicon Valley? They actually showed Jenkins there. Yeah. Okay, anyway, so it's going to be based on the Team Foundation server. Team Foundation server has been around for ages, meaning that it's been around for ages and has been continuously improved. It is awesome now compared to a year ago or the year before that. So it's a year over year, it's getting better. For those of you who know what the source safe is, how many of you know what the source safe is? Okay, so source safe is a predecessor.
Prehistoric.
Oh, what is it? Anyway, so prehistoric, yes. So TFS came from that, okay? We'll talk about that in a minute. So, but not take that as, it's been around long enough to be able to mature and be able to adapt every time. And it's actually a very, very, very solid product. We've seen this, wall of confusion, blah, blah, blah. I talked about it already. I'm gonna wait for it to blow up. Anyway, I'm always wondering what is this? Is it like something to throw over the wall back so it blows up on there? Okay, so software challenges, frustrations, delays, lacks of insights, all those cool animations from Microsoft. And I heard that DevOps will solve all of those problems. Just do DevOps. Okay? The reason why I put that in there because it nowadays is in many cases they've replaced the word agile with the word DevOps. And said, you know what, it's now not agile tool, it's now DevOps tools. We're not doing agile anymore, we're gonna do DevOps. Just like agile, you can't really sell DevOps, right? I cannot give you a box of DevOps and take a check from you and say, you know, you're not DevOps. Or in the month, you're gonna be DevOps, or in the month, you're gonna be agile. It's a culture change. It takes a while. It takes a while to adopt and change your practices. And there's different maturity levels of DevOps. We're gonna talk about that. So what is DevOps? Okay, so there's that story, fairy tale or something, where a bunch of people got in the room with their eyes closed and they showed them an elephant and gave them touch different parts of an elephant, and everybody was trying to guess what that is. Right, so some people say DevOps is development and operations collaboration. Yeah, that's true. Is DevOps is treating infrastructure as code? Definitely.
Definitely don't want to be the guy in the behind area, though. Just throwing it out there.
He doesn't know he's behind.
That's the IT stuff.
All right, so DevOps is automation. Okay. Different flavors, right? DevOps is feature switches. I mean, you heard about the feature switches. That deployment. You know what that is? So there's as a part of the, anyway, one of the approaches is not doing the regular releases, but separate the release from deployment, meaning that I'm going to deploy all the time into production. You're just not going to see it. There's going to be a switch that's going to hide it from you. Other people, UAT people are going to see it, QA people are going to see it, or designated group of people are going to see it, but you are not until I flip the switch. So I deploy all the time, continuous deployment, but I turn it on, release, at when I want to, right, or when I'm allowed to. Okay? So feature switches, really cool. DevOps is small deployments. Small deployments, continuous deployment all the time, small changes every time I deploy, I'm getting faster feedback, it's easier for me to discover the bugs, right? I mean, if you went through nightly deployment, when you have to deploy something overnight, or you have like a weekend deployment where this product has to be upgraded from between 2 and 4 p.m.
I was
or
that
a.m.
guy. I was that guy staying on the weekend.
Right? And because prior to that, you had like a month's worth of development, and you deploy it, and something goes wrong, something always goes wrong. It's very difficult to pinpoint what exactly is the problem. If you're doing small deployments, continuous deployments, you only change 2 lines of code, 15 lines of code, you know exactly where the problem is. Or you to release 2 new features, 3 new features, you know exactly where the problem is. Or it's a lot easier to track
I
that.
did a month ago.
Sorry?
Not always. Sometimes it's the stuff you did a month ago. Which you
Yes,
know
but if you're doing small deployments, then a month ago you already deployed it. You already tested it potentially. Okay? Again, those are all yes sir.
I have a
But you don't have to
question.
raise the hand, just say it.
I have a question.
Feel
So,
old when you do it.
let's say a situation with big banks, yeah, we have lots of legacy code,
Sure.
and features are changed in big chunk. Yeah? How easy it is for them to do quick deployment if there are so many dependencies, and I guess you should be able to do it hot swapping, yeah, while the application is running. The old version, you should
Sure.
be able to.
That would be
deploy
one
them.
way to do it. Another way to do it is ask why you're doing big bangs. Why do you have to do big bangs? Why can't you do small deployments? Why can't you deploy more often? What's stopping you? Is there a reason? Especially if you have it automated, if it just happens. I'm not necessarily talking about deployment to production. That's where you want to be, right? But you need to start somewhere. If you need to start deploying automatically to dev, just run it. Run some tests against it. Pick up start with simple unit tests, smoke tests, right? Then do a lot more sophisticated automated tests and so on and so forth. But smaller chunks, fail fast, or deploy fast, okay? Or work faster, whatever they want to call it. So if you were deployed faster, instead of doing a big bang once every 3 months, if you deploy once a week, once a day, you're going to discover it faster. Even if you have nothing to deploy, even though you're technically not really releasing any functionality yet, just small bits and pieces, right? When it all comes together, you know, but just faster to test. Okay, thank you. Does it answer your question?
I'm just thinking but if there are too many dependencies, yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind
That's
of
more
challenging.
reason to deploy faster because there's too many dependencies. You're going to discover them faster. You're going to test them faster. Obviously, there's no like a turnkey solution. Just do this. You're going to be fine. Whatever works for you. But if you go away from being back in deployment, so try to minimize it. No, right? Again, that's just one of the things that people think about DevOps. Okay. Which one is true? Anyone?
All.
All of them, yeah. Basically all of them. Okay.
Max,
Yes, sir.
I like that slide. Have you ever encountered a situation where you have the dev side ready to move forward, but the ops side isn't ready to give up their manual-based run books and ECM plans, like enterprise change management plans, where they're stuck the way they're doing it and they don't have the skill set for automation? Have you ever encountered that
Sure.
situation?
All the time.
Okay.
That's why I'm getting paid what I'm getting paid. But just like in developers, right? Developers, Agile came along a long time ago, like years ago, right? How long did it take for people to start even adopting it or start wrapping their head around it? And a lot of people are still nowhere near close to to what the Agile expects them to be, right? So don't expect that IT to become that overnight. It's going to take training. It's going to take time. It's going to take conversations and communications and collaboration.
Does it also take a replacement of the ops team?
The what?
Does it take a replacement of the ops team? In other words, you have to fire some of these people and actually get some people who have the right skill set? Or can you train them?
I think I had one of those slides. So that's a lot that a lot of companies do. They get, so imagine you had, and I'm going to try to answer your question with another question. But anyway. So imagine you had IT tribe, right? We're IT. You have developers. And now you're trying to do DevOps. So instead of getting them to work together, you introduce a third guy, DevOps guy. You introduce a third tribe. So you just got more communication problems, right? And typically those DevOps guys that you hire, okay, so you have a group of people that think they're smarter than everybody. You have another group that thinks they're smarter than everybody. And now you have a third one that thinks they're smarter than both of those. And it doesn't work. So you can't really buy DevOps. You might have to fire some people. Probably. But instead of looking for who to fire, you should look for how you can train those people, right? And again, chances are they're already doing this. Chances are they're already running scripts. If they're smart. Okay? Somebody said that yesterday, that over 70% of people that in IT or development think that learning new technology work is great, is good. That's why they're doing what they're doing. But 30% of those people don't like that idea. So fire those 30%. Train the 70%. Again, most of the times, training is good. People are not going to be opposed to this. They might not like it initially, but they're going to get over it. Especially if you're going to show that success in smaller projects. So if you have an organization where people you're afraid to introduce some change, you start small. You start a small pilot project. You could do a SWAT team, for example. You get a bunch of developers, QA people, BA, and so on. You introduce a few IT people in there. And you basically give them autonomy and say, you guys do what you want to do. You give them direction, you put a DevOps guy in there, or DevOps coach, or Agile coach, and let them go through this, right? And then people are going to see that it's been, most of the time, those projects are successful, assuming business doesn't interfere. And then you can show that it's going to spread out. Okay? I don't know if it answers your questions or not, but
No, I was just curious because one of the things I find with these kind of presentations is that there's a certain expectation of competency of the people you're dealing with. All they need is the right coach, the right expertise brought in, and they'll
Yes.
see the error of their ways and move
Sure.
forward.
But to that point, people that are working in those departments, they know what they're doing. Let's assume that they know what they're doing.
Okay.
Right?
So that's
They,
the-
they might not do things the way you want them to do things, but they know what they're doing. They know their job. You know what? If they don't, you have a different problem. Right? But if they know what they're doing, all you have to show them is how to be a bit more efficient. And that's all it is. Right? So you show them, you train them, saying, you know what, you already do, you heard PowerShell, let's talk about PowerShell. Let's start small, right? Start with the lunch and learners and all of those. Say, dude, show them a bit of PowerShell. Give them a try. If they're good, they're gonna like it. If they're okay, they're gonna like it. They're gonna try it. They're gonna build up. They're gonna do next thing. Show them something cool. Like, get them to do Docker. Why not? Let them play. Right? Because again, the problem with IT nowadays is not because they're not smart enough, or they're lazy, or they're stuck in their ways. But the problem is, IT and developers have two different reward systems, right? How are you guys rewarded? The better code you write, the more features you release, the better you are, the better your performance review is, right? The more money you potentially get. Is that fair? How does IT being measured? The more reliable things are, the more stable things are, the less changes are there, the better is IT. Those are two very, very contradicting reward systems. So at the company level, you need to define your reward systems. You need to modify them to fit this model, right? Failing is okay, as long as you learn a thing or two from it, right? Again, don't start with production. Don't start with something that's going to get the company out of business, but start with small things. Okay? Essentially, there's a few slides in the hypothesis-driven stuff. Just let them experiment. You want to try this? Go and try it. You have like a couple hours. Go play. Go nuts. All right. There, click on it. Kanban for ops. How many of you know what the Kanban is? Okay, it's the board where you put the tasks and nothing in it. I'm sorry, you look it up. Okay, so DevOps has a three-stage conversation. You have people, processes, and products. It's about people. You have to train people. You have to talk to people. You have to explain to them what's happening and why things are happening. People are not stupid. People are not stupid. People know. People adopt. People will be fine. Define the processes and make sure the processes are helping and not getting in the way. Give them tools that they need. Give them PowerShell, give them some Azure Plate. And how many of you read the book called Phoenix Project? Okay, really two? Read it, look it up, download it, I don't care. It's called Phoenix Project.
The Phoenix Project.
Oh, Phoenix.
It's
Yeah.
a really good book. Definitely worth
It is reads like a fiction, but it's a good book about IT, about the failing devs and IT in the company and how company is going under because of this. And as you read it, and it reads like as a fiction, so it's very easy to read, you start realizing, yeah, I know that guy, I work with that guy, I hate that guy. Anyway, read it, right? It's really, really good. And it explains the DevOps as a not DevOps, something else anyway. As three ways, right? There's first way where you start thinking as system thinking. So instead of thinking about your product, instead of thinking about your job, instead of thinking about your department, you think about the company. You think as what your system needs. Think what your organization needs, and you're thinking in those terms, right? So it's not us versus them. It's we're friends. We're all in the same boat. Empathy helps. The second way is the feedback loops, and get the feedback. Establish those communication channels. Maintain them. Deploy faster. Get the feedback faster. Right? Release. Get people to try things. Right? This is why Google had those Google what is it called? Beta, right? Those beta projects, which turned into real project really, really fast. So Microsoft now does preview, different word, same idea. Okay? Establish the feedback loops, maintain them, encourage them, and the faster you get the feedback, the better you are. So instead of doing the waterfall where you have to set up, define what you're gonna do, how you're gonna write the software, what you're gonna write, 6 months in advance, do sprints, 2 weeks. Keep changing. Third way, experimentations. Try new things. It's not gonna kill you. Try Azure, try PowerShell, try Chef, try Puppet. What else is there? Python's. Don't try MySQL. MySQL sucks. I'm sorry. I was at the conference. I'm sorry, the DevOps days, and there's a lot of web guys out in there, a lot of small shops in there, and there was a whole discussions about the database deployments, and a lot of people using MySQL, and outside of other problems that MySQL has, like deployments are just horrible, right? You can't predict anything. You don't know what exactly is going to happen, right? So, and I'm sitting in there like smiling. I'm using SQLs, and sure, I have a backpacks. I can just deploy and redeploy anything that I want to. You know? I don't have to worry about it. We can have that conversation about the database deployments later if you want. But try new things. It's good. Try non-Microsoft things. Why not? There's a reason they're good, right? Try Chef, try Puppet. What else is out there? Well, is there anything that you wanted to try that you couldn't try? Or the job didn't let you? But you thought that it's going to be useful? Maybe not now, maybe in the next project. Maybe it's going to help somebody else. Experimentation is important, right? There are companies now out there that says like every second Thursday of the month or something, you do whatever the hell you want to do. That will help the company. But
There's a little caveat at the end.
I'm sorry. Basically, you're not like just give you yes, sir.
Sorry, just to speak to that, if you're always doing the first thing that you pick all the time.
I'm sorry. Do the what?
If you're doing the first thing that you pick all the time, you're likely not choosing the best choice all the time. If you have devs and devs say, you can do it, we're going to do it this way, we've always done it this way, and that's the thing you always do, you always pick the first choice,
Yeah.
then you're likely not doing it.
Exactly. Just because it worked before, something that you used before, doesn't mean that's the only way to do it.
Experimentation
Yeah.
gives you confidence that you're choosing
Yeah.
the right thing.
And also the argument where it says that's the lowest we've done before and it worked. Let's keep doing it. And you know there's better options out there. That's not a good reason not to, right? You know what? If you can't convince them to go that way, set up a pilot project. Saying, you know what? You do what you do. I'm gonna try this. I'm just gonna show you, right? But yeah, thank you. It's a very good point. How DevOps can help? It helps you shorten the cycle times because you now IT is involved. First of all, they help you automate things. So your cycle time to deployment times will be faster because you don't have to wait for the windows of opportunity because all your non-sensitive environments can be redeployed, wiped out at any given point. I'll show you a demo where you can wipe out def all the time. Optimize resources because how many of you have a VM that does nothing but a DNS or does nothing but domain controller? Sorry, domain control is a bad example. Does nothing but the website. It's an overkill. Improve your quality and availability. Sure. Metrics is really, really important in DevOps. Ability to and Agile per se, right? Saying ability to be able to measure and say our deployment went from this to this. We were deploying 2 times. We discovered a lot more bugs faster. We fixed them faster. Just you know what? Just because you found the bug, first of all, it's a good thing that you found the bug. It's even better that you fixed it faster. Okay? There's a lot of tools that can help you improve the quality, even in Microsoft world especially, like System Center. You can hook up to TFS and it becomes as part of the whole infrastructure. List of practices, Okay, I'm just gonna quickly go through them, sorry. Tools, Microsoft Stack, awesome. A lot of really, really cool things out there. I'm pretty sure it's true. Microsoft is the only company that has a product in every of those categories. Microsoft now friends with everybody. Right, so they support Jenkins, they support Grunt, Gradle, Chef. What's Hudson? Anybody know what that is?
It was what Jenkins was formed from.
Ah, okay. Thank you. So, yeah, it's the same logo. Okay. So, we're friends with everybody. Awesome. Try those. There's a lot of different, but again, all those tools in there. Microsoft has all those tools too. Power of Azure goes to your data center. There's an Azure Stack, new feature in Windows Server 2016 that will allow you to run Azure in your data center. So you write the code, you don't want to deploy the code to the cloud. Install Azure Stack in the data center. Here you go, you have the same functionality on premises. Or you have a dev test scenario where you have tested and developed in the cloud, but you need to move the production system to on premises. No code changes, move it down. Or application starts on premises, but later ends up in the cloud. Again, same thing, no code changes, move it up. Or run the hybrid. There's a lot of different options. That comes in 2016, which should be released at the end of the fourth quarter of the year, this year. There's a lot of cool things in there. Not a server, SSH, built-in SSH into it. Linux people are drooling all over it, by the way. Anyway, so DSTS, TFS, I'll show you. Tons of technologies. This is like 6 months. This presentation is about 3 to 4 months old. So there's a lot more technologies that people are Microsoft friends with. This is what's called a periodic table of DevOps tools. There's a lot of stuff in there. Every category has a Microsoft representation. By the way, it used to be called Visual Studio Online. Now it's called Visual Studio Team Services, because they realized that there's no actual Visual Studio Online. So, it created a confusion that people were expecting an editor. And while you have an editor, it's not a full-blown Visual Studio Online. So, which they've renamed it to the Visual Studio Team Services. For those of you who are old enough, there used to be VSTS, which was Visual Studio Team Systems. That was Visual Studio 2008. So people had fun with it. There's that thing that's called DSC. Many of you know what DSC is? It's partial DSC. That's what it allows you to basically say, go ahead and make sure that that VM has an IIS installed. And IIS is configured with SSL. And if it's not, somebody went and modified it, that job will rerun every 15 minutes and go ahead and reconfigure it, put it back the way it was. Configuration management, consistency, right? Keep going. Enable with DevOps. There's SDLC cycle, plan, develop and test, release, production, monitor, whatever. Plan it, project starts, plan, manage work, track the progress, and so on and so forth. Develop and tests. I'm just gonna go through those. Continuous integration, all of those really, really cool features of DevOps. And all of you guys are doing it, right? Because this is agile. This is SDLC technically. So automated testing. I mean, if you do automated testing, okay, you guys really, really need to do those. Because that would allows you to reduce the life cycle, right? So say you start with, how long does it regression testing takes right now? If it takes you 3 weeks, 6 weeks, how do you shorten it by automating some of the things? Shorten it to 2 weeks, so on and so forth. Yeah. Most of the things can be automated, some of them cannot, but that should be a fairly small amount. Release, when all the test paths, go ahead and release. So again, because you already tested that using automated tests, you don't have to test it manually. You can just release it to the next level. Test it manually afterwards, and so on and so forth. Pre-production, eventually, and that scares a lot out of IT people, scares a lot out of me. personally. There really should be only two systems, dev and prod. That's it. There's no reason to have anything else in between, right? Because if I tested it enough, and if I wrote build up, my code is mature enough, my DevOps practices are mature enough, I should be able to deploy it to production. People might not see it right away because I might hide it behind switches, but it should be there. And when the company is ready to release it, turn it on. I think Facebook said that every feature that they're going to release a year from now is already in production, right? It's already there, it's already running, it's just not available to you. It's available to a selected group of people, but not to the general public, okay? Again, that's where you're heading towards, not necessarily going to get there on day one, day two, year one, right? It takes a while. Okay, continuous deployment, awesome. Build, check-in, deployment, check-in leads to deployment, check-in leads to deployment, deployment leads to tests, and so on and so forth. I really need to stop using that word. Okay, source code, you check it in, you build it, you break it in QA. I'm sorry. You build it, you break it, you fix it, you redeploy it. You have multiple stages, old slides, right? You starting with this, you eventually build up. You want to end up with only two environments, but for most of us right now, it's multiple environments. You have dev, you have stage, you have QA, you have UAT, sit, did, whatever you call it. Every company calls it differently, by the way. It's a very cool animation, but you deploy it, goes to dev, same code, goes to dev, same code, then stage, and production. Consistent, right? But again, it said it goes to dev first, you can test it, passes dev, goes to QA stage. Infrastructure as code, we talked about it, you know about it now, we're good. All right, load testing, oh, very, very cool. Automatically scale. Demo, let me show you. All right, so for those of you who haven't seen the Visual Studio Team Services, the online version, the cloud version, when it comes up. Okay. So I'm using the Visual Studio online, visualstudio.com. So this is my personal visualstudio.com account. You can subscribe for one. It costs you absolutely nothing for up to 5 users. After 5 users, you're paying some money. If you already have a MSDN, you're not paying anything. If only you care about the submitting work items, meaning bugs, tasks, and so on. For business people, it can cost you nothing. So it's extremely cheap or free. I like free. So I'm going to open up this project called Fabric and Fiber. This is a Microsoft project. When I open it up, I can have dashboards here. So I can say, show me, I'm going to go ahead and add one. I'm going to say, show me the build history. Okay. Oh, sorry. I need to pick the build definition. A lot of things that you can customize. You can create a lot of those dashboards for business people, or for the team leads, or for the teams in general, right? So you can have multiple teams in there. So for QA people, there's certain pieces of information that they're going to find interesting. For business people, it can be another set of information. So you can create a lot of those. So here's my source control in TFS and in Visual TFS Online. Again, Microsoft now friends with everybody. So Git is popular nowadays. I like this t-shirt. I don't like Git, but that's a different conversation. Okay, so Git is popular, very, very distributed, very powerful source control system. So TFS has its own TFS source control system, but it also supports Git. So in this case, this is Git. Okay? I also have in the same project, I have the part of the Microsoft TFBC, which was comes from the source settings, right? A lot more sophisticated, a lot more powerful, but same thing. So, but I have this Git. I can use the command line to get the repo and all of that cool stuff. I have pull requests, I have branches, can view the history, I have all of that cool stuff right in there, right? Okay. I also have the work. This is where my planning comes. I click on it. So I can create, there's multiple templates. There's 3 templates that you can pick in the SDS. One called Agile, which is based on Agile methodology, user stories. One called Scrum, which is Scrum methodology, backlog items. And you have CMMI, which is waterfall, requirements, tasks. So if you want to use that, that's fine. So based on which template you pick, you're going to end up with certain work item types. So this one runs on Scrum. By the way, it's very easy to create a project. All you have to do is just say new, type up the name, pick the template. I can also customize them if I want to, and pick the repo I want. When I pick one, I can add another one later. So if I pick the TFS one, I can add Git later, or vice versa. I can have a lot of Git repos in there because that's Git, and I can add one TFVC because TFVC is centralized system, right? Any questions so far? Okay, so I have this work where I can create multiple work. I can say, you know what, create a backlog item. Update, copyright message. So here's my backlog item. I'm going to go ahead and assign it to me. And I'm not there. Anyway, no, that's not it. That's the state.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I'm in the wrong field. Sorry. This is assigned. This is me. Okay? I can put description, other tasks, acceptance criteria, all kinds of things. There's a new launch darkly, which is freaking awesome. We'll talk about that later. History, attachments, this is not attachments, this is links, attachments. And the new thing called, what they call it, source visual, social code. Meaning that when you create a task, when you create a backlog item, you don't know what exactly, because you found the bug, you don't know what the bug is. So as a part of the discussion, for all, you're tracking this information. So I can say, when I click on it, yeah, there you are. What do you need? I can say that it's going to be part of this discussion. Just 2016. Right? So all of that information is being recorded. So kind of copies Slack a little bit, because you can use @ and £, saying, you know what, at this field it broke, fix it. Or mention something, some kind of test. Okay, so backlog items, that's fine. We also have these backlog items, everything that's happening. I'm just gonna move it up, move it down. I also have sprints. I want, you know what, in this case, I want to do this in the current sprint. This thing, I want to do the next one, and those two, put it in the last. Iterations, do you know what the iteration sprint is? So sprint is a temporal division of work. You just say, I'm dividing the work by time. Today I'm going to do this, 2 weeks I'm going to do this, the next 2 weeks I'm going to do that. Okay? You also have a division by area, which is functionality. So you have a authentication module, you have a backend module, you have a middle module, whatever. Okay? We can talk about that later on. We also have this Kanban board. And Kanban boards are team-based, so you can have a different Kanban board for different teams. Here's what's going on. I can say this goes in there. I can add more items to this, edit the style. I actually want to edit this style. And I want to add the columns. I want to say this approved, committed, but committed, there's a definition of doing and done. I want to split doing and done, I want to do tests.
I've been in companies where they've actually adopted both workflows, sprint and Kanban. So they had teams that would basically be a fire control team. That would, if there was any kind of issues with the software that
Yep.
needed immediate patches, that would be the Kanban team. And then the sprint team would work through new features,
Sure.
new features.
So in this case, you can create a swim lane. So default, everything is going to end up on the default lane, but there's an extra the emergency box,
Yeah.
right? So you create a new swim lane and say emergency. Kanban has its own methodology. It's only you limit the work items, the work limit, so work item in progress limit. So you no longer you cannot have more than, let's say, 5 items. You cannot be working on more than 5 items at a time, or you cannot be in certain state. That way, nobody can really. That the idea came from that. There's no such thing as multitasking. People want to multitask, but really nobody can. So if you focus
Other people
on-
want you to multitask.
Sure. Okay.
You don't
But
want
you
to
really can, because you still switch it back and forth, right? So the more you switch, the less you're efficient, right? It's
Right.
like the amount of time it takes to adapt back and forth. So this is Kanban board, this is working planning, build. Okay, so what I'm gonna do first, there's this build system. I have this CI build for, I'm just gonna show you the continuous integration build. So in this build definition, right click. Okay. So in this build definition, I'm going to go ahead and build all the solution files, and I actually want a zip file, so I put some parameters in there. I'm going to test them. I'm going to publish those 2. So that's the build system. Okay. In this case, there's a bunch of options, multiple configurations. I pick from the repo. In this case, I'm taking from feature 2. Variables that you can modify on the fly, various triggers, continuous integration, and so on and so forth. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and modify something, and I'm going to use. I'm going to use the web editor. You're not really supposed to use the web editor, but I'm lazy, so.
Yeah, sometimes you have to.
So I'm going to put 2016 hello from.
You actually got 5 minutes.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna save. And if I go back to, so I made the change, you did a check-in, right? If I look at the queue, I should have a continuous integration build that's gonna go ahead and compile my code and make sure I didn't break it. Okay? I'm also gonna go ahead and do actual continuous delivery. So I'm gonna actually build that. I'm gonna actually go, I wanna make sure I'm not the right actually. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and build it. When this builds, once this is successful, and by the way, as I build it, if I look at it, it gives me the live logs. It gives me the live logs. Yeah, so I'm gonna see the live logs. I'm not sure why I don't see them right now. It's probably wireless, but once this is successful, I can define a release pipeline. So here's my release pipeline. Okay? In this one, I have depth and QA. So in this depth environment, I'm gonna go ahead and create the resource group that we were talking about earlier. And if it's been, what it's going to do is going to say if the resource groups exist, I'm going to create it. If it doesn't exist, I'm sorry, it doesn't exist, I'm going to create it. If it exists, I'm going to update it. Okay? If there's nothing changed, I'm just going to move on. And what the resource group consists of is the database and the web app. Okay? So, and then I'm going to go and do some magic, just because I want to. It has nothing to do, really has no effect. I just wanted to add it to show you how you can have custom tasks. And I'm going to go ahead and deploy my web app. The one that I just compiled, I'm going to go ahead and deploy it. And this is where I'm actually showing you that that's the one I'm actually deploying, right? While this is building, I want to go ahead and go back to my Azure. I have 3 minutes. I do not have any of those websites. So what it expects is so it's building right now the continuous deployment path, continuous integration path. Now it's actually building in the package. The difference between the continuous integration and just regular builds is continuous integration just compiles, doesn't produce anything. All I want to know is that I compile, that I break it. So this is my live logs. I'm going to go ahead and publish it. Now I can go ahead and release it. I can also set it up so it automatically releases. In this case, I want to show you manually. So I'm going to go ahead and click release. I'm going to pick my build definition. And I just want to make sure that I pick the right number. So I should have noted the number. And I can define those numbers. So it's 5281. Oh, it's date. That's right, I put the date. So release, pick that today's one, put some notes. You know what, go ahead and deploy. So in this case, what it's going to do, here's my release 32. Here's everything that happens, all the tests involved, all the work items that were involved. I really should have added my work item here. In my history, here's what's happening right now. If you look at it, it's going to go ahead and download it. Now what it's going to do, it's going to go ahead and install, create the website in Azure and create the database in Azure. Empty ones, just empty website, empty database. That's my environment, that's my infrastructure. Could be VMs, could be anything. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and create it. Next thing, it's just going to run some magic. Imagine I want to change something on the fly, doesn't matter. And what it's going to do is going to deploy my website. The one that I just built, the one that says hello. And once this runs, you're going to see that it's actually live, that it actually works. It can work in Azure, it can work on premises, it doesn't matter. It works in Azure better because there's a lot more power in there and it's a lot more flexible. It's easier to scale up, scale down. Okay? But it doesn't mean you have to actually use the cloud, use it, but that's not the requirements, that's a recommendation. Okay, so it's downloading, it's doing things right now. You can see the logs. I think, yeah, so here's all the stuff that's happening. It gives me the live logs, everything that is happening. And let's see if it can make no, it cannot make the 4 o'clock. Hang around. But if you can see, this is going to deploy to my dev environment, to my dev website. After that, I will set up some approvals. Once my dev is successful, some people are going to get notified, and then those people go in, they sign off, a bunch of people go in, a bunch of people sign off in certain order, for all I care, and then it moves on until till QA people sign off that they're ready. It's not going to get deployed to QA until UAT people say, or the QA people say that they're done validating. It's not going to go to the next stage. You can set up those gates and check-ins and approvals and validation, and it blew up. Okay, but if you look at the logs, and I'll present there. So there's a problem with my code, the problem with my JSON file, go ahead and fix it, and so on. But the idea is, if I show you previous runs, it deploys, I have the full traceability, everything that happened, post approvals, who approved, when the approval happens, what did they say, and so on and so forth. When did they go in, and you have an approval for leaving the stage, like dev is done, and accepting fear is ready. All of that is in there, all of that is traceable. Infrastructure as code, my deployment environment, supposedly being created on the fly, and be wiped out on the fly, because I don't really, but just goes, right? Next one, all of those are throwaways, right? You really should be designing your infrastructure in such a way that you can reach it at any point. And you have full logs for everything that you do. Okay? I know I'm out of time. I went through a lot, trying to cover a lot in a very, demo a lot in a very, very short period of time. If you have any questions, I'm here. I'll leave some business cards. If you have any questions, just email me later. There's a lot of other things that you can do. You can monitor and learn all the time, constant feedback, monitoring, all that cool animation. Performance, it's very important to measure the performance in your dev environment so you don't have to wait for production to actually do the node testing, because otherwise you're not really testing it properly. Automated recovery, make sure you have a way to roll back. It's not that hard, so you deployed build 32, it failed, deploy the previous one, build 31, roll back, or better yet, roll forward, fix the bug, update, put updates in, if you can. I like roll forward better because it doesn't hold me up, but sometimes it's not always possible. Configuration management, there's a lot of tools out there that allows you to manage configuration, making sure that your environment is up to date. So if you need IIS in there, make sure that it's there. And if somebody went in and modified it, put it back the way it was, all automated, all scripted. It's not good. There's a lot of tools out there. One of them is Chef. Microsoft has a bunch. Automated environment provisioning, like we did. All of that really cool animation. Very important hypothesis-driven development. Try things, essentially. Measure it. Testing in production. It's not necessarily a bad thing. After you reach that level, of course. Telemetry, make sure you measure everything. Old injection, actually test for failures too, before the failures happens. Actually, try to break it, that's all it says. Resources. Oh no, I spelled the word resources correctly. There's a lot of resources out there. Google things. The slides will be online if you want to. There's a lot of channel 9 videos, YouTube videos, Pluralsight, anything. Again, it's the beautiful part about using Microsoft products is because a lot of people are using them, so you're not the only one going through the same problems. Very easy to find it. It has a very big community. Happy DevOps. There you are. Thank you very much.
Big scale of the they had three primary tracks. They had cloud, they had the web.
This is not intended for children. It's just toys. Like what? You have to be 13 or older for this program. I don't know.